Good evening. I am Rufus Bill, and welcome to another edition of Talking to. Today is Sunday, December 21st, 2025, and the Sunday right before Christmas when everyone is around doing hustle and bustle trying to get that last Christmas gift, the last turkey, the last whatever for the big holiday celebration. How are you doing today? Did you do something special just for you? Were you able to relax and collect yourself and get ready for the new week and get ready for all of the festivities that will be taking place today? I hope you were able to, and I hope you are ready. You know, there is a old saying that says if you're not ready by now, you probably won't be. So hopefully that you are and you're excited about what the plans and what will be going on this week. You know, this is a time of special time of year in the hearts of families, and it's a time when people come together, fellowship, reminisce, make new plans for the new year, reflect on old plans and old goals and accomplishments. It's just a great time. It is. Sometimes it can be sad for those who may be experiencing loss of family members or special friends, or maybe you've moved across the country or across the world and you're somewhere alone for the first time ever during a holiday season such as Christmas and New Year's. But I want you to know that you can make it. You can do this. You can get through this time. Listen, once again, I am Rufus Bill, and I am one of three. Joanne Tosin Fuller, who's traveling right now, and she will be back with us next week. And also Justin Hearn, who is away doing his civic duty as he often does. I don't think there is a game on tonight. I meant to check before I came on to see if what's going on in the world of football, and maybe I'll get some stats and scores before the show is over, and we'll discuss that a little bit. So I want to bring you up to date on something that I did this weekend, and I attended a surprise birthday party, and some of you may know Antoine, and Antoine and I were reared as brothers, and his wife Beverly celebrated his birthday, which is next month in January. But she gave a surprise birthday party yesterday evening, and it was just full of people. And Alice was there, and Donish, and many of the family members were there. But here is the situation about the party. So when the invitations went out, it says clear as day, shh. Now you know what shh means. Keep your mouth shut. It was planned as a surprise birthday party, but how Beverly packaged it, she packaged it as if it were their Christmas party. So we were supposed, the party started at 4. And, normally the guest of honor at a surprise birthday party doesn't arrive until usually all the guests are there and they're awaiting the entrance. And when they come in, everybody says, surprise! No, that's not how it was. So by Antoine, under the thinking that he and his wife are throwing this fabulous Christmas pajama party, he was already there when I arrived. And so I didn't see Antoine nor Beverly at first. And I just sat down and just observing the room. And then Antoine spotted me first. And Antoine, when Antoine sees me, he's like, Rufus. And he walks over to me. And I'm so excited to see Antoine because we haven't been in the same room at the same time in a couple of months. And so I get up and he says, come over. Did Beverly see you? So now it's Beverly, Antoine, and I. And we're just all happy and hugging and everything. And so I reach into my pocket to give Antoine his gift. And so I give him his gift and he says, what is this for? I said, "Oh, it's for your birthday. Happy birthday." And he's looking strange and puzzled. And so Beverly turns around and looks at me and pantomimes, "It's a surprise," and gives me a hit. Of course, I'm looking like a deer in headlight. I didn't realize it. He still didn't know. The surprise had not been revealed. Of course, I felt this small. But I think at the time, Antoine still was unaware because Antoine probably chalked it up to Rufus as being Rufus, and he's just doing this a month early. Well, the big reveal was supposed to be prior to dinner, and Beverly was going to announce, and then we were all supposed to say, "Surprise." I told Beverly later, I said, you cannot tell a news reporter anything because we don't know how to keep our mouths shut. We're always ready to spill and scoop the next story. However, the party was a huge success. Antoine had a great time, great food, great conversation. It really just kicked off a great holiday week. And I'm so glad that, we were all there to celebrate. One thing, I talked with Jay Sanford. Jay Sanford was our guest last Sunday on Talking To, and he is the air personality and the program director at WCHB here in the city of Detroit. And they had a big drive for children and families on Tuesday. And I talked with him this morning, and he wanted me to give his regards to the listening audience for being great participants. You showed up, you showed out, you brought so many things, canned goods, clothes, and of course that money, you brought that as well. And so he's just very grateful and very thankful that you were a part of this. I believe this was the first time that the station ever did something on this magnitude here. I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, he wanted to say thank you. One thing that I failed to mention is that I attended the stage performance of Highways and Byways, and it was at the Detroit Opera House, and it was a fantastic stage play. Now, what was very interesting about this, if there were two stories with it was not a stage play, it was an opera. There were two operas in one, and they both were talking about love and the flip side of love when it can be deadly. However, it was a great story. The singers were unbelievable. It always amazes me whenever that there is a cast of that particular size and they have a choral group incorporated into the play or into the opera. So there you're sitting and you're watching maybe 100 choral members dressed in their costumes and all singing. And if you're not familiar with the arts and how rehearsing is so important, just imagine getting 100 people all together in one room at one time to practice music for an opera. I'm sure what they probably do, they do bisectional parts. All the sopranos meet one day, altos meet another day, tenors meet another day, bass meet another day, and then they combine all the four to get that finished project. But that's a lot of action and movement going on, teaching parts, making sure they're having the right inflections and the right holding the right type of breath. But anyway, nonetheless, it was phenomenal. It was very phenomenal. Also, I would like to thank the children that performed in the Snowflakes from the Sky production this particular week. We dealt with children from the kindergarten age to fifth grade. We had a phenomenal dance team, and the background that the artists put together on display was unreal. If you've gone to my Facebook page, I've posted some of the performances from some of these students, and it is so just it's so beautiful whenever you can see little rascals come together and seem so angel-like. In fact, it's like a magic trick because as they were performing, I'm looking over the classes and saying, "Ooh, that's a rascal. That's a rascal there. There are three altogether." However, it's something about music and about the arts and theater, dance, art. When the spoken word, when that comes together, it eliminates and dissipates all of the things that make it a challenge to present. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud of the all those that were involved and that had a part in the success of a great production, Snowflakes from the Sky. Once again, congratulations to all those involved. So here on Talking To, I want to let you know that it is 28 degrees. The time is 7:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're coming live to you from the city of Lady Detroit in the metropolitan area. For those of you who are viewing live, welcome. And those of you who will view us later on either later today or later in the week, you are extended a warm and great welcome. So today we are going to add, we're excited here, Joanne, Justin, and I, we are excited that we are adding someone to our hosting duties. And we're bringing in, or he has committed to joining us today. We want to introduce him today, and he's going to be part of our next season. Professor G is his name, and he is a health and wellness coach. He's great at what he does. He's very knowledgeable, and we're very fortunate to have him to be part of the Talking To family. He's going to bring us a lot of information that we can use and learn about and really apply it in our lives. You know, many times we wait until all the eating and drinking are over between Christmas, or I should say, after the last day of work until the new year. And we always say, well, it's the end of the year. It doesn't matter. And we're just going to start off with a fresh, clean slate. January 1, lion. That's what normally happens. We're just not even being truthful and being honest to ourselves. So that's why we're going to bring on Professor G now. He's going to talk to us, give us a little history of himself, talk about holiday health, talk about what we should be doing, and giving us some tips and things that we can use to apply to our lives to have a healthy and happier existence. And with that, I'm very excited to welcome to Talking To Professor G. Good afternoon, Professor. How are you today?
Rufus, good afternoon, sir. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How was your Sunday?
Sunday was nice. I actually made it outside, even though it was cold out. Made it outside a little bit, walked my dogs, and just kind of enjoyed my time off.
All right. How many dogs do you have?
I have 2 Rottweilers, and they are brothers, and they are a handful, but we love them.
How old are the Rockwilders?
They are 4. They're 4. Echo and Quincy are their names.
Echo and Quincy.
Yes, sir.
Are they twins? Are
yeah.
such thing as twins?
I don't know if there is, but they're brothers, and their colors are different, but they have all the same markings. Their mannerisms are the same, like how twins would behave. So yeah, I would definitely classify them as twins.
So out of all of the dogs to choose, why did you choose Rockwilders?
You know what? I really didn't choose them because of a breed. I was just kind of searching out for. I really didn't even want 2. I was looking just for one. And the photo of them that I came across, it was them together, and their names at the time were Thor and Loki. And I'm a real big Thor fan. So I
Okay.
just kind of thought it was kind of giving me the right vibe. So I went and checked him out, and that was it.
And they stole your heart on site.
Yeah, yep. They're a handful, I won't lie. They're a lot to handle, but we love them.
What would you say would be the biggest duty that brings about the most challenging things when caring for your two pet family members?
Just realizing how active they need to be. We do have a fenced-in yard, but sometimes that's not enough. They want to get out there and explore more.
Okay.
So even I work out in the morning before I make my way to work. So even when I come home, it's still hard at times to get it up in me to take them outside and go for a walk. But they're great to have, and they're definitely guard dogs. One sticks by my side a little bit more than the other does.
Okay.
The other one tends to look out the window and be more of the guard type of dog.
All right.
Which is cool, obviously, but yeah, we love them. They're great to have.
You know, I've never had a pet growing up or even as an adult, but I know that they can bring a lot of love and joy into a household, into a home. In fact, if you're single or married, they can complete your family because they give so much love because I believe they get so much love.
Yes, definitely unconditional. No matter the day you're having, they can always cheer you up.
That's for sure. Well, listen, Mr. G, Professor G, let us get into, first of all, tell us some things about yourself and how you have adopted this particular lifestyle of living with health.
Yeah, so I will say it's definitely a lot of what I have learned and apply my own life is definitely against the mainstream narrative that they always put out there on the news and all the commercials and ads. I definitely go against that in a different direction. But as far as who I am, so I am 40. I just turned 40 about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And thank you. I'm actually proud of that because I always say age is just a number. You got to maintain the vehicle that you're in.
Correct.
I attended Eastern Michigan University, got my degree in teaching, and I've been teaching for 16 years now. And what really changed me is if you were to meet me in 2019 and meet me now, it would be like you met two different people because I have changed drastically, opposite sides of the spectrum, because I was faced with an event in my life that not many are faced against. It was either kind of make or break. And it all started with the pandemic, unfortunately, and my job, because I was asked to, like I'm sure many were, obviously, to teach students and to come to work every day as a professional educator, covering my mouth and my nose at the same time to wear a mask. And that was something that brought question to my mind immediately. And once I began to kind of dig and read and come pulling together all these different resources, I was understanding that how harmful it is on multiple levels, not just even your physical, but also your mental health. And then also the whole compliance with the government, all that does play into it. It's hard to say that it's not supposed to be political, and it's not supposed to be political, but there's always that spin on there. And that itself is on purpose as well, just to kind of further get more and more of the general public to comply. But I didn't do anything wrong as far as the going through the process. I had a waiver turned in. I had it signed by my medical care provider, and it was still denied, which I could go into forever because that's still technically part of a mandate and everything. And I was told that excuse my language, but I was told once that my medical privacy is bullshit. I was told that over the phone. And so that made me question things like why were so many of these things happening that were questionable and never really able to get a clear answer. And when something like what was going on with COVID and the pandemic allegedly being so serious, and I'm not saying that people didn't get ill, that people didn't lose loved ones or people didn't pass away, because those events did happen.
Yes.
It's just the reason or the cause for them. I believe, from what I have come across in my reading and understanding, it's not what we have been told.
So tell me this, Professor, and if you're just now joining us, you're listening to Talking To with Rufus Bill and Professor G, who is a health and wellness coach. And we're talking about improvement in the quality of living through health. Now, Professor, what was it that triggered your mind and got everything spinning where you just felt that this could possibly not be correct with the information that was provided to us, especially during the time of COVID and the precautions that were given to us and expectations of how to remain healthy?
Right. And honestly, this is going to sound like something small, but one thing that stood out to me, and I won't lie, I was just as falling for it as everyone else was in the beginning. For the first couple of weeks, we were afraid as far as just being unsure and uncertain of what was going on. But the longer it happened, and 2 weeks in or 3 weeks in, I started questioning things, and then they were all telling us that we had to wear a mask, and I wasn't going to do that. I never one time put one of those on. But what really caught my attention and made me question it was the fact that they had a death toll in the corner of the TV. No matter what news
channel, did.
Yeah, no matter what news channel you were watching, they had that death toll counter. And I remember turning to my wife and my in-laws, and I'm actually at my in-laws right now, but I remember turning to them and being like, those are actual people who are passing away. People are losing loved ones, and there's just like a scoreboard up on the TV. Like, where is all of the emotion and the care for like for each other? And it was just real alarming, and it kind of woke me up and made me start going down the rabbit hole, as they say. And because my career was on the line, not just a job, it wasn't just a regular job that you can go and apply for and whatever. Like, I went to school for this, and I'm already 10 plus years in, and it was my profession. It was what I was doing for a living. And I took it up.
And to stick a pin in that, and because of what you do in your profession with health and physical activity, I'm sure you may have been placed on a higher tier to comply with what was being asked to do by your employer, as well as the state and federal guidelines.
Yeah, definitely. I was asked several times if I would wear a shield. I told them, no, I'm not going to wear a shield. If you read the back of a shield, it says it's not meant to be used that way. And that's even going back to the masks. I drove around to all of my local, where I live. I drove around to our Kroger, our Target, our Walmart, our Meijer. I drove around to all of these places where you would go to buy a box of masks. And on the box, it states that these shouldn't be worn to prevent or cause any illness. They're non-medical, and the definition of non-medical, if you were to look it up, tells you that it's not relating anything into medicine. And I have videos of them. I can actually share them with you later when we're off air.
Mm-hmm.
But it was alarming. I remember even going into places with my daughter, and we were the only two not wearing masks. And we would go up to the mask because I would have her pick up a box of masks for herself. And during this time, she was 7 years old, 8 years old, but I wanted her to understand, because what was going on in the world was crazy. Everywhere we go, everyone's covering their face and their mouth. You can't see anyone. So I wanted her to really understand what was happening. And we would pick up the box, and she would flip it over and look for it. And every box, it either said non-medical, or it would say flat out right on there that it's not meant to be used in an area of high exposure, or it's not meant to prevent any infection or transmission. So once I saw that, I was like, whoa, why are we being told to do this if this isn't even what it's meant for? And it's crazy because all of these things, all of the tools that were used during that time were all emergency youth authorized, meaning you're allowed to use it only because it's an emergency period, not because that's what it actually does. So like I always use the example of my daughter. Imagine if you're trying to eat a bowl of soup and all you have is a fork. So we're gonna write this piece of paper that says you can use a fork to eat your soup. But yet, as you're eating the soup, it's not really working. But that's okay because the paper says that that's what we're going to use. So now everyone's using a fork to eat their soup. It's kind of the same concept, and just how it impacts your ability to communicate with non-social skills. And I even took it upon myself, if you think of like an elementary classroom, how it has the pictures of like a child being happy and they're smiling,
right,
a child being angry and they have like an angry face, or confused and they have a confused face. Well, I actually printed out like 15 or 16 paper masks and I glued them over the faces of each child on that poster, and they all looked the same. You couldn't tell how any of their expressions were or anything. And that was just something else that I kind of brought attention to as far as my daughter going through this as a child, so she could see how harmful it was, and to not be able to express yourself, for others to interpret your emotions. That's a huge part of how humans communicate.
Well, I remember during that time, of course, those individuals who owned companies that produced masks and hand sanitizer and disinfection solutions, their stock skyrocketed.
Yeah.
They made money hand over fist. And when we were discussing this a couple of weeks ago, it came to mind. I said, it almost appeared to seem as if almost, Professor G, that this was a ploy to fatten pockets.
Absolutely.
Now, in journalism, and especially radio or television journalism, when we meet every morning to discuss the topics that we're doing, we specifically pick topics, unless there's a news breaking story. And then we frame them in a special way. So everything that was coming across the airwaves, through radio or through television or even through internet, everything was framed. You got to wear this mask. In some instances, they were talking about wear the gloves. You couldn't have the mask below your nose. It had to be above your nose. It couldn't be below your chin. It had to cover your mouth. And
yeah,
it was so interesting how that was the push. And of course, the death toll was still in the corner of the television. They were covering these stories. But the flip side to that was, and it inferred, if you wore this, you could be all right. Can you hear me clearly? You could be all right, even just with a piece of paper. This is not even cloth. My voice is muffled. But that's what they inferred, that there's safety behind the mask. But you did research. You read that it does not, what did it say? Prevent what, Professor G?
It did not prevent transmission or infection, meaning that it would not protect the wearer or protect anyone that the wearer was around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you bring up how you could even use a piece of paper, because people in my own family have told me before that they have gone into a restaurant without one on, and then have the host at the restaurant before seating them saying that they needed to have a face covering. So they would just go like this, walk to their table, and then sit down, which floored me, because hello, compliance, what are we willing to do here without asking anything? But it's also like, so you feel safe doing this?
Right.
So like, why do you need to walk 15 feet to sit down at a table to be okay?
And then to let it go.
Right. There were just so many questions. I mean, even just if you were wearing one and then just fussing with it on your nose and your mouth, every time you. So if you want to get into mask etiquette, because I dove deep into this topic.
Okay.
Every time you touch it, you should be taking it off or putting it on. You should never be adjusting it. You should never be lowering it below your chin, because, the quote unquote spread of germs. And that's a whole nother topic we can hopefully get into in the future.
Okay.
But just every time you're supposed to take it off, you're supposed to take it off. Now you have people hanging around their mirrors in their car. They'd have like 4 or 5 of them. And like, and then they get like all the fashion and to match these pants. And I wanted to match this shirt. And it totally was all about just like fitting in, complying with what they were saying. And if you were to ask any type of question, you were frowned upon, and they turned you away, and they made you feel as if you were ostracized, and all you were doing was just asking a question. And that also hit me in the face. Like, all I'm trying to do is just find out some information. Why is it being made so hard? That's one of our rights, to give consent with all of the information. So many people are making health decisions that were made without having full information of what was going on. They were only given I hate to continue to say the G word, government, but whatever they wanted us to hear, or whatever they would allow us to see or allow us to consume as far as information, that's what we got. And anything else, they quickly dismissed it as a conspiracy theory or whatever it may have been. And once you throw that word out, that loses everybody right away.
Yes, it does. But what is very interesting, Professor G, and if you're just tuning in, thank you for tuning in to talking to our special guest. He's our special guest right now, but he is our resident fitness coach host. But what I was going to bring up is, when I would see the mask in the car around the rearview mirror, for whatever reason, it used to gross me out.
Yes.
And especially for those persons who would wear lipstick. And then if you would see, you're driving by and you just see lipstick, or somebody is talking with you, or you just happen to see a mask and it's full of lipstick, and then they would put it back on. I would even question, I said, is that even healthy? Not even what the mask could do, but just putting the lipstick back on after it.
and I'm not even trying to put anyone down or whatever.
Of course not.
Everyone do your own thing. And obviously we are all kind of under the spell, if you will, of the mainstream media. I mean, it was nonstop on the TV all day long. Every day it was talking about the mandates and how many people have died and all of these like breakouts occurring and whatnot. But it's disheartening because so much was just overlooked and
it was
thrown under the rug, if you will. I mean, even now when you see someone, I still occasionally will see somebody wearing it in their car by themselves, or walking on the side of the street down a sidewalk by themselves outside wearing one. And what's sad is that that's literally a symptom of being exposed to like psychological warfare. They were mentally
attacked,
brainwashed, attacked. Yes, that's a more appropriate word. And it's a clear sign when you see them still wearing it. Like, we're all going into the same building. Like, do I need to like look out? Is COVID it's very, very awakening.
It is, and it's one thing, and I'm glad we're bringing this because it segues to fear.
Yes.
It was a point of time in the world. People were fearful. They're seeing, as you said earlier in your opening, loved ones just pass on, make their transitions. People separating themselves from family members, and especially older members, because they said don't go around them, especially if they have various conditions. But that fear set in, and it changed us completely. How not only can fear bring change, but how can fear, Professor G, affect our body health-wise?
Well, I could get real deep into this. So fear is the strongest emotion that one can experience outside of love. Ironic enough, love.
Repeat that again, Professor.
Outside of fear, love is the strongest emotion. So as long as that's why they were continuously trying to pump us with fear, continuously trying to get us separated from our loved ones so that we could express that love. They made it hard for even us to communicate. Like, us communicating now is much different than as if we were at a table sitting down talking with each other.
Exactly.
You don't get to feel each other's vibrations, and nothing vibrates higher than love. And what's second to that is fear. And they utilized fear as a weapon to get people to comply to things that diminished our health. And that's what was very alarming. And anyone who tried to do better for themselves outside of any of the tools that they would suggest, they would be, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, called crazy or out of your mind. And you would always hear ads on TVs or commercials or this governor saying this or that governor saying that, as far as make sure you wear your mask, social distance, blah, blah, blah. But how often did you hear, make sure you get sunlight, make sure you're getting plenty of rest, make sure you're having good contact with your loved ones, make sure you're working out, watch what you eat to enhance your immune system. And no, I didn't hear those things at all. I don't think I ever heard that one time.
I don't either.
And here they are passing out cheeseburgers if you go and get a shot. Like, that's ridiculous. And I mean, that's another question in itself. Like, they're offering you all these incentives for something free. So, like, how many things have to create a question mark before something gets questioned? And then when you finally do question it, it's so hard to get an answer.
And which has been evident, because I don't think anyone really knew, in the people that had the knowledge. What was the doctor? I can't think of his name, but he was really speaking up highly about everything that was going on.
Dr. Fauci?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the more he talked, the more they tried to discredit him, which ended up, I believe, in him being terminated. Am I correct?
Yes.
But from his position. So what we need to do, and what you're saying and what you're suggesting and recommending to everybody, is to do your due diligence, is to research. Because, it's very interesting when the body has a dis-ease, or if the doctor tells us you have been diagnosed with A, B, C, D, or E, we instantly go to Google. What is it? What do we have? What can I do? What remedies can be used? How have other people dealt with it? But I don't really know if I'll just speak personally with my group of people, and me as myself. I may have looked up COVID, and just to see what it was, but I never looked to see and investigate what was being recommended to do. They said it, I did it. And which is interesting, because usually people that are in journalism, they never take on site what someone says. We cannot ethically or morally take the word of somebody and then send out that information without having to do any research. And I don't remember anyone, independent or even that worked with a conglomerate, saying, did you read the back of the mask box? Did you do any research on how many wearing masks saved lives or prevented disease?
Right.
I can't recall that.
And that's not to your fault or to anyone's fault.
Of course not.
That's one reason why they bombarded us so much. And once they had everyone complying, nobody wants to be the ugly duckling.
Right.
Nobody wants to be the odd man out.
Exactly.
But that's why I personally feel that I was in a special situation, because my career, my job was threatened, and it was threatened for something that I was learning very quickly was incorrect, was not benefiting me or the ones around me at all. So I took it upon myself to I dove real deep, and so many of these could be subtopics for future shows. But I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, it's very, very alarming.
Well, we're so glad that you're part of the team, and we're as we continue with our shows, and we're going to dispel myths and bring out knowledge and awareness that can really help and enhance lives. Let's talk about, we're approaching the holiday season. And in the intro to you, I was talking about how we all may be guilty of saying we're going to wait till the end of the year or the beginning of the year to start on a good foot. What can we do right now in terms of holiday health, Professor G?
Well, first thing I want to say, just to relate to what we were just talking about, is the first thing that we should all do is definitely gather with our families for the holidays. Let's not forget that was also something else that we were told a few years ago, was to not to celebrate these holidays with your families. But so when you are, and I know many of us are going to be preparing food, many of us are going to be going or hosting family and friend gatherings. But when you're shopping for those foods, one tip while you're shopping in the grocery store that I kind of try to live by myself is to buy your food on the outside perimeter walls, on the outside of the stores, because that's where all of our whole foods are. Down the middle aisles, that's where all of the processed and ultra processed foods are. And all of those, I call them PUP foods, processed and ultra processed foods. They have additives and food dyes and preservatives and different fillers in them that wreak havoc on our health like we wouldn't believe. We've become very desensitized to the foods that we eat. And I use the word food very lightly, because just because something has been formulated in a way where it's edible and has a desirable taste to it does not mean that we should be consuming it, and not nearly at the rate that the majority of us are.
Now, Professor, before I did a little research to get some numbers to discuss.
Yeah.
And you, first of all, you said we should shop on the outer perimeter of the grocery store. The inside are the food, not food items.
Yeah.
That can cause a lot of hurt and harm. 60% of American people, 60% have heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes.
And I guarantee you the underlining common factor in a lot of those cases would be that they all have a sad diet. And when I say sad diet, yes, it is sad, but it's the standard American diet. And even though that diet is more than just in our country alone, but a lot of people follow that diet, and the food pyramid itself is not what it's all propagated and cracked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 70s, when our recent food pyramid has come out, and the guidelines are always changing, but ever since the mid 70s, when the guidelines changed, that's when a lot of our health issues started to increase. And no one really wondered why, because don't worry, the medical industry, they have all of these pills to treat your symptoms. They won't treat your disease, your dis-ease, like you said earlier. That's exactly what it is a dis-ease of our body.
Mm-hmm.
And again, another subtopic for later, but do dis-eases really exist? Where do we go with that? And why do we have so many different illnesses that have such common symptoms?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting.
You know, another statistic that I got, percentage I got, it said 90% of individuals 65 plus have at least one chronic disease. 29% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 34 have started developing symptoms of some type of chronic disease. And there was another one, 75% of those in midlife stages are definitely headed to at least one chronic disease. Now, after I did the research, then I looked over and I saw mental health, 23%. Can certain foods that we may be getting ready to eat during this holiday season, or certain activities that we do, can that affect our mental state?
Oh, absolutely. And in both aspects, negative and positive.
Okay.
Depending on what you're eating, it can either cause you feelings of anxiety, or it could cause you to feel stressed or even depressed, depending on obviously what it is and how often you're consuming it. And then on the opposite end as well, depending on what you're eating, we've been fed, no pun intended, many lies on what's good for us and what's not good for us.
Exactly.
And a lot of the foods that we eat, if they're whole foods, what God has put here on this planet for us to consume, that you will be provided with the proper nutrition. You'll be able to have your neural pathways in your brain transpire and communicate with each other much quicker. That's why dementia, I don't want to label it as the direct reason, but that's a huge factor onto why the dementia has increased, because we are cutting out certain things from our diet and inserting things in our diet that work opposite with each other. For example, cholesterol. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Cholesterol is the molecule of life, and cholesterol makes up the membrane of every single one of our cells in our body. Our synaptic gap, where our electrical signals communicate with each other, the myelin sheath, that is made out of cholesterol. And if we're reducing the amount of cholesterol that we're taking in, and we're taking these medications that prevent our body from creating cholesterol naturally, we're diminishing what is helping regulating the communication process in our body.
Well, say for instance, you've turned over a new leaf. Someone has turned over a new leaf. They've been invited out to dinner. Usually there are a lot of very starchy foods, fattening foods, sugary foods.
Yes.
What should you look for at the dinner table that you can eat without maybe disrupting your diet plan? And when I say diet, I don't want anyone to get confused with a diet in terms of this is what I'm doing to lose weight, but this a diet, a healthy diet that will increase the quality of life for you. What direction should I go?
That's an important statement that you made too. Diet, everyone associates diet to losing weight. And diet is simply just the food that you eat. What is your diet like? What's your diet today? But so first, I would need to say that whenever you do go out to eat, treat it as something special. So many of us, when we get together with people, that's one of the first things that we do. Eating has become such a habitual thing.
It is.
And more of like an activity rather than something that you need for survival.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do go out to eat, obviously you won't be able to eat as well as you would as far as ingredients while you're at home. So when you're out, allow yourself to enjoy some of the foods that you have. However, if you're finding yourself going out more and more, obviously you need to be more strict on yourself. Otherwise, that becomes part of your diet and not just a special treat going out with some friends or family.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very hard to avoid things like seed oils. Seed oils are very, very common in our foods. And one thing that's scary about seed oils is that they are the worst for you when they are heated or warmed up. And that, of course, is how they are mainly used when they're in the process of cooking or preparing our food.
Now you're saying seed oils as in S as in Sam, EED as in dog?
Yes, like vegetable oils, like sunflower oil. Yes. Those are very inflammatory. They cause oxidative stress in our bodies and free radicals. And that's one of the building blocks to many diseases.
Now, I don't know. Now, see, it almost slipped past me, and I'm sure that it may have slipped by someone else. You said seed oils are at their worst when they're heated.
Yes.
So frying chicken.
Yep.
Maybe pork chops. Anything that you are trying to fry, or even if you're not frying, if you're lacing the pan with seed oil.
Exactly.
A lot of cooks say oil the pan so that it won't stick.
Yep. And seed oils have been pushed a lot because in the 70s, we were told not to consume saturated fats. You can't have any fats. So like things like butter and ghee all of that was removed, and here's margarine, or I can't believe it's not butter, and canola oil. And that's when all of these oils started coming into play. And those all play a huge factor in many illnesses like dementia and like obesity. That's where, when they say there's good fats and bad fats, that's the bad fat. The good fats are the ones that you would consume from, like, maybe nuts or beef, animal fat. Those are healthier fats than seed oils. Seed oils are very destructive. But I kind of let myself, I don't go out to eat very often. I prepare, I would say, 80 to 90% of my meals at home. Mm-hmm. But when I do, I know I'm going to be having some seed oils, but that's just something I know it's not very often. And I'm trying to just enjoy my time. And I'm not trying to make myself go insane in my head. You know, like, I know I'm very good otherwise, so I will be okay. And I am. I mean, I have an extremely healthy lifestyle, especially these last 5 years.
Yes, you do.
My health is, I've never been healthier. And I never wore a mask. I never isolated. I never got a shot. I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I made sure I was in the sun. I was with my loved ones all the time. I was eating properly. And that was really what switched my gear to really hitting the books, like how I've been hitting the books. And coming on here on shows with you is what I cherish the most, because everyone needs to hear this type of information, because it was neglected from us for so long.
And I think what is very important to individuals, if we're presenting with the information, at least we can say, well, we did know. Whether or not we choose to accept the information or apply the information, it's on us. And even as we're discussing today, and people are listening to this information that you're giving, it's really imperative that the person still goes and research for themselves.
100%. Even listening to me right now, don't just be like, oh,
don't take your word.
Dr. G was on there and he said that's what the box of masks says, so I'm not going to wear it. Go and look at a box of masks.
Look at it yourself. Exactly.
You know, it's right there. It's actually written in 2 different languages. You're able to.
You can't miss it.
Exactly. But to go back to your question, as far as what to eat when you do go out, stick with whole foods. You know, try not to you know, eggs, fish, meat if you must, you know. And I will be honest, like how you saying, make yourself open to new information. I myself am in the middle of experimenting with my own self as far as how I'm eating. So for the last 2.5 years, I've been a pretty strict carnivore as far as what I ate.
Okay.
And now since December 5th, I have only ate, I would say about 95% of my diet has been just fruit, because
really?
I'm learning a lot about fruit, and comparing to what I've learned about fruit and to what I've learned about vegetables and veganism and vegetarianism and meat and carnivore. They all are medical professionals. They all are highly respected, and they all have patients, thousands of patients that they have healed from almost any illness that you could think of, including cancer. So eat this way, you can heal this. Eat this way, you can also heal that. Eat this way, you can heal this. But what I, from collecting knowledge and information over the past 3, 4, 5 years, and I mean, not just reading something here and there, I've read
consistently
40, 45 books in the last 5 years or something. I've been nose deep in pages for half of a decade. And this information and that information and this information, all telling you that they can heal diseases by eating completely different. But yet at the same time, what I've taken is that all 3 of those areas, the one common factor is that they all have removed processed and ultra processed foods. That is the underlying factor from all 3 of them. They say we ate this way, but we also removed all of this and experienced all of these benefits. Oh, well, we ate only meat and we removed this and experienced all of these same benefits, and also over here with fruit. And it's just very eye-opening to me, where I have come to realize we try to make it so complicated. Humans try to make things so complicated when they really don't need to be. And it's always around our health, something that we should value and prioritize number one. And it's not meant to be hard.
You know, a medical professional told me some years ago, and to stay away from all the processed foods.
Yes.
And I didn't realize how much processed food I was eating. And usually you think maybe in terms of meat, canned meat,
Right.
but there's more than just canned meat that is processed in the aisles of the grocery store.
Oh yeah.
One day I took a box of rice-a-roni and I just read the ingredients, and I was amazed. And then when I looked at the things that are required by the government, um, the sodium that goes into that preservative that goes into just that one item, and you think you combine that one item with several other processed items, and then you're wondering why that you're feeling the way you feel.
And then you're having that multiple times a day.
Multiple times a day. And you may be slow in your thinking, um, body aches. It could cause or generate a number of things. And I always hear people say, oh, must have been something I ate.
Yep.
Must have been something I ate 3 days later.
And then just overlook it.
Just overlook it. Yep. Well, yeah, it was something you ate 9 times out of 10. And you know what I noticed that does not help? And I don't know if you are a fan of cooking shows, but when cooking reality shows first began, they're nowhere near that they are now. Because I think maybe in the age of, what is the woman's name who loves butter? She's from the South. Once she hit the market with her brand of cooking, I started noticing the change in how people were preparing foods on television and on, you get so much of this and you get so much of that. Yep. And that's just one item. By the time that they completely finish the meal, there may be several items that have just red flags written all over them that really do the body a lot of harm.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier, as far as when you go shopping, shop on the outside, and when you do pick up something, read the ingredients. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't pick something up and have a list of ingredients.
Right.
And when you do read the ingredients, the ones that are listed first are the ones that are more pronounced in that item. Those are the ones that are heavier. Like, they're ranked from most used to least used. So when you pick up an item and it's sugar, cornstarch, modified cornstarch, or fructose or high fructose corn syrup, or this corn syrup, or this sugar extracted from this fruit, sugar and fruit, that's no problem, as long as you're eating the fruit. If you're eating something from the fruit that's been pulled from the fruit, well, now it's going to have a whole different effect in your body. So it's very important. It's very important that we're eating whole foods.
Drinking this week, and I know we're almost out of time.
Yes.
How should we moderate or modify alcohol intake?
Well, I personally am not. I would not advocate for drinking at all. I myself, again, I've quit drinking. It'll be 6 years in June that I stopped drinking, just because of my whole spiritual awakening, if you will, as far as what's good for my physical body. But if you are going to, definitely in moderation. And people think that drinking only affects you if you're feeling the effects of drinking. If you're catching a buzz, or if you're drunk, or if you're the next morning feeling the effects and you're in the bathroom, like even when you're not, when you're just having your one glass of this a night, or one can of this a night, that's still taking toll on your body. So just when you do, maybe when you have your one drink, maybe a half hour later, also have a glass of water. Help your body process it out. Don't just binge drink. Even though you're with your family, you're having fun, but enjoy your family and have fun with your family. Be present in the moment.
Right.
Don't try to lean on something to kind of help you kind of transform into a different person of who you are not really.
And most of the time it's the Hulk.
Yes. Yeah. Especially when you're around family, that can transpire very easily.
It can too. And even the sugary drinks. Sometimes, we like to make punch or drink sodas. I did an intake last night at the birthday party. I drank 3 sodas. Now that is not even common for me, but because I was in that party environment,
Yep.
and it just seemed, well, let me just take a soda. But even with sugary drinks, we should limit ourselves, especially during this time of year, because a lot of people who may not drink will opt for, well, give me a virgin pina colada. But
Yep.
there's so much sugar in that one drink that can cause harm. For the show today, I did research, and it stated that when you drink liquor, your body completely goes into a shutdown mode instantly, and everything is focused on getting that liquor out of your system.
Yes.
The things that your liver is supposed to do on a normal basis without liquor, it stops doing it to try to get rid of the alcohol. And I was thinking, wow.
Yeah, our bodies are magnificent. I know it's kind of cliche. Everyone kind of hears how the human body is an incredible machine, but it really is. It will always put healing ourselves as number one as far as priority. So the moment that we're exposed to something that our body recognizes as toxic or negative for us, it will immediately put that as number one and try to have that come out.
Well, you've given us a lot to think on and to chew on, and it was great information and much needed, especially as we move forward in life and we're facing whatever challenges, or maybe not even challenges, doing life, just facing life in itself, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. We need to be physically and mentally prepared because this is serious.
Oh yes, very serious.
Now, would you say from 30 to 40, the years just went by fast, or were they at a slow pace?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, I hate keep going back to it, but it has kind of slowed down since the pandemic for me, because what my attention has gone to, like I don't watch TV. I used to be a huge sports nut. I don't follow sports at all anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I don't follow sports at all anymore. Because I put all my time into learning, and then I communicate with people who watch sports, which is fine. Do you? I don't judge anyone. Everyone does their own thing. But so many people are unaware of truth, specifically relating to health and how our body actually works. But yet they can tell you how many yards so-and-so had. They can tell you the contract that somebody signed, or how tall, or how much does this guy weigh, or how fast is he. But yet they can't tell you like how your body properly breathes, and that it needs to expose carbon dioxide. You know, it's so that in itself is even like, wow, you're really being distracted from what's really real out there. And when they prioritize things and it's blasted in your face all the time, eventually you're going to start to believe what you hear. But real quick, to talk about drinking as well, even just regular drinks, if you're drinking water, lemonade, iced tea, coffee, try, especially when you're about to have a big meal, try not to consume any liquids an hour before you start to eat.
Now, why is that?
That way you don't fill yourself up on liquids, for one. So you actually have more room in your stomach, in your digestive system, for what you're going to consume. It'll make absorption of your meal much easier. If your stomach is empty, you'll have the proper enzymes and bacteria in your stomach. It won't be flushed out. And it also helps with digestion. And then after you eat, wait an hour again. And I mean, I'm not saying you can't, if you're eating something, you need a sip to kind of like rinse out your mouth throughout your eating. That's different. But I'm saying don't sit down and have like have a plate, and then you also put down a whole glass of something else, and then you're going back for more. Just do it very sparingly. That way it just aids in digestion.
Very important tips. One other thing that I wanted to ask you before we go,
yes.
what's a good exercise? Just not so much that's very intensifying, but just something that we should be incorporating every morning. I know you're an avid swimmer and you swim a lot.
Yes.
Everyone may not be able to have the access to get to a pool, but something at home as you prepare to get to work, or before you as you're preparing to get to work. What's one simple exercise you can suggest to us?
Well, I'm going to keep it real simple. And I'm going to say just walk outside. And if you can, walk outside during hours where you can be in daylight.
Okay.
The sun is extremely important to our health. And that's something that's been demonized very much so, is something that we should be afraid of. You throw that whole fear factor in there again, but just walk. Everyone wants to make things so complicated. Just go out there and just have simple movement. Just walk. It'll lower your blood sugar. It'll help stabilize your heart rate. And being in nature, you'll get proper air that you're breathing in. You'll be in the sun. So just keep it simple. We're always trying to make things so complicated in our lives, and they're really not meant to be.
Professor G, do you have any materials that you can, any books or anything, or any articles that we can go and read?
One book that was extremely informative to me was The Invisible Rainbow.
The Invisible Rainbow.
Yeah, it's a good sized book. I'm not gonna lie. It's a fat book. It's about 800 pages, but it's 800 pages of you having your mind blown every page that you turn, and it makes you really sit there and think, what have we been doing? And what have we been doing? We've been distracted by all of the things that society wants us to consume, and instead of really figuring out for ourselves what the truth is and how we should be living properly.
The Invisible Rainbow. Have you ever heard of the book Back to Eden?
I had the return to the Brain of Eden, or just Back to Eden?
Just Back to Eden.
I have not. I just purchased a book called Return to the Brain of Eden, but Back to Eden I have not. But I will write that down, definitely.
Write that down. It's a very good book, and it deals with any dis-ease that someone may entail in their body. Okay. It talks about what you should do, and then how you should prevent it, and then it gives you instructions on what you should do, right, about keeping your body operating at its optimum.
I do have to say this: the number one book I would suggest, because my wife she just came into the room and she would be surprised if I didn't mention this, but the number one book that I have read out of all of mine is The Water Codes. That book is extremely eye-opening, and that led me down many different pathways of learning. So I would definitely recommend that.
The Water, CODES?
Correct.
The Water Codes and The Invisible Rainbow.
Yeah.
I'm sure by the time we come back, you'll have some information on the one you just purchased. What was it called? Not Back to Eden, but
Return to the Brain of Eden.
Return to the Brain of Eden. I'm sure there have some similarities with the book Back to Eden, and I can't wait for you to give us a little information, some tidbits from that book as well. Give us one more thing that something encouraging for us this week as we enter and celebrate.
So as we're gathering with our friends and our family, just to revert back to what we briefly mentioned earlier, there's so much fear in the world, and we're bombarded by it all of the time through messages that we may be conscious of or not conscious of. And often it's the ones that we're unconscious of that affect us the most. But like we said, the most powerful emotion, even greater than fear itself, is love. So always try to be in a loving state. I know it's very hard at times, but step outside the box, take time to literally calm yourself down and be in the moment. Love yourself, love each other, and just enjoy being able to get together for the holidays, because not everyone is able to do that.
This is so true. You said something earlier that I had to write down. Nothing vibrates higher than love.
Correct, sir. Absolutely.
The first time I use it, I'll give you credit. The next time I use it, I'll say it's mine.
That's a deal. That's fine with me. People need to hear it.
Professor G, it has been a delight. Thank you for joining the hosting team and becoming a regular here on Talking about health, health through wealth through health. Yes. I think we may call that segment Wealth Through Health. Or if you come up with something, we'll use that. But nonetheless, thank you so very much. Have a very, very great vacation. I know you are so excited.
Yeah.
I don't know who is excited more, you or I. But enjoy your family. Enjoy the making memories this week and ongoing just past the holidays. And it surely is very nice to have you to come on board. Thank you so much, Professor G.
Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to it again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you were just listening, we were talking with Professor G, who is our health and wellness coach here on Talking To. He's going to join us in 2 weeks when we start the new year. He's going to give us some more information on what we can do to enhance the quality of our lives, especially during these times. We need to learn how to combat things that we're faced with, family things, our work environment, our personal environment. We need to know how do we deal? And we can't deal with it properly. We can't enjoy the successes that we will have if our body is wrecked. We hear the word accountability too much. I think almost to the point where it's just becoming just numb to our ears. But we need to be accountable for us. You have to be accountable for you. Aren't you tired of getting up in the morning talking about, I'm just old now. It's just part of life. It's just, well, I ain't gonna put down them cigarettes. You gotta die from something. I hear this all the time. Change your consciousness. Give it a try. Professor G is not asking you to do a whirlwind of changes. In fact, he's not asking you to do anything. He is presenting information, and it's up to you to accept and to apply. But try it. Try it for a week, just a week of eating better. Next time you go to the grocery store, I'm not going to say this week because I know your head is already maybe programmed to what you're going to do, but maybe it's not. Start at the parameter of the grocery store. You may be surprised on all of the goodies and the treats and delicacies that exist right there that you have never paid attention to. Because you like to get those Hot Pockets, those pizza rolls, and I'm not knocking it. I am not. But everything must be done in moderation. And that's what we're trying to do. Have a healthier and better you. For you, not for your wife, not for your family. I hear people say, oh, I'm doing this for my family because I want to be around. No, do it for you, because if you don't do it for you, you won't last for doing it for someone else. Change your consciousness. Put in your mind that you're going to take, if it's baby steps, to a healthier you. I hear it often, oh, I have to go to the doctor. I better eat right so my diabetes will level off. Is that not crazy? We eat terrible, then take a shot to maintain it. That's just craziness. Do something different to get different results. Now, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that. However, it is very important that you be the best you that you could ever be, because you're the only you you'll ever get. It's Talking To. I am Rufus Bill. Have a great evening.